Thank you for joining the City of San Jose's Planning Division presentation on proposed updates to the Cannabis Business Ordinance. This presentation describes proposed changes to Cannabis Business Ordinance as directed by the San Jose City Council in November 2022. At this hearing, the City Council discussed current cannabis land use rules and directed staff to return to Council with additional changes to specifically address distance requirements from cannabis businesses to certain sensitive uses and evaluate concentration standards. We'll provide a brief background on Council's direction and proposed changes. We'll also discuss California Environmental Quality Act requirements and the upcoming public hearing schedule. Here are the city's current distance requirements for cannabis retail businesses. The Council directed staff to replace distance requirements from schools, daycare centers, and youth centers with a revised measurement and to lower the distance to the community and recreation centers. Currently, the cannabis retail businesses in downtown are 500 feet from a daycare center or youth center, 1,000 feet from an elementary or high school, and measured by a straight line between the property line of the cannabis business and the property line of the school, daycares, or youth center. Here's the specific direction the City Council provided at their November 1st meeting to modify distance requirements from sensitive uses to cannabis storefronts and evaluate retail storefront concentration. Let's take a closer look at what these changes are. This table shows the proposed standards as directed by the City Council. In areas designated outside of downtown or urban village, cannabis retail businesses are 1,000 feet from parks, libraries, or community and recreation centers. This distance measurement will be revised from 1,000 to 500 feet in areas outside of urban villages and downtown. As part of this update, Council directed us to change the way we measure distances to schools, daycare centers, and youth centers. If the updated rules are adopted, we would change this measurement to be either 500 feet measured from the property line to the property line, or 1,000 feet from the public entrance of the cannabis business to the public entrance of the school, youth center, or daycare, whichever is more restricted. The City Council also directed staff to evaluate potential standards for the concentration of cannabis retail businesses. Currently, the distance requirement is measured as 1,000-foot pedestrian path of travel between the public entrances of the businesses. Staff is proposing an alternate standard that is derived from the process of evaluating applications for the off-sale of alcohol. This standard would prohibit more than 4 cannabis retail storefronts from locating within a 1,000-foot radius. Here's an image that shows what a 1,000-foot radius around a tenant space looks like. This property on San Carlos Street is used here only as an example. No cannabis business is proposed at this location. Staff recommends that no more than 4 businesses within a 1,000-foot radius be allowed, and this distance measured from the building or tenant envelope. Let's figure out how the standard will work. These first 4 businesses depicted in green icons would be okay to add because they do not create a concentration of more than 4 within a 1,000-foot radius. However, this 5th cannabis business shown in blue would not be allowed because it would cause more than 4 businesses in a 1,000-foot radius. Staff created an online map link to identify sites that may meet zoning regulations for a cannabis retail storefront based on zoning and identification of potential nearby sensitive uses. However, this map may be used only for illustration purposes. The map is a tool to help identify sites, but sites identified on this map will require further investigation to formally determine eligibility. Please be aware that the city does not maintain data related to locations of all sensitive uses, especially for businesses that may be categorized as a youth center. As part of CEQA requirements, Staff prepared an addendum to analyze changes in the proposed amendment discussed here. This ordinance essentially allows the retail sale of cannabis in areas where retail sales are already allowed, and no new environmental impact would result from this ordinance change. The city has a robust regulatory program that addresses items such as security, site maintenance, and odor concerns. On-site cannabis consumption is not allowed. The proposed update is scheduled for the Planning Commission hearing on May 24th and the City Council hearing on June 13th, 2023. If approved, the proposed changes will be effective by the end of July. Thank you for joining us. You may choose to participate and share your comments at the upcoming City of San Jose public hearing session.